And we are live. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Depending on where you are, it could be morning, it could be afternoon, and of course it's evening here in Las Vegas, 6:17 p.m. Pacific time, October 26, 2022. And we got a jam-filled pack, or is that right? Jam-filled pack, or whatever. A lot of stuff here tonight we got to discuss. Got the two Surface products here. You can see them right here, top-down shot. We've got the Surface Pro 9 with the 5G, and then next to that, Surface Pro 9 with the Intel. I have the Surface Laptop 5 here. We'll get to that in the second part of the show, but I wanted to lead off with the Surface devices here. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's Andrew, and wanted just to say hello. Haven't done a live stream in a little bit of time. I think it's been a couple of weeks, and again, slowing down with the live streams because I've been doing other things, obviously trying to grow the channel, and we're trying different things. So once again, I wanted to make sure I got in a live stream on these Microsoft products, the Surface Pro 9, and again, the Laptop 5. The much maligned announcement a few weeks ago by Microsoft, and I thought there were a lot of mixed reactions to it, and I think rightfully so. We're going to get into it today, but first, let's say hello to a few people. We got Dean Thompson here. Good to see you. We've got Nuoki's here, and we've got, let's see who else we got. We got William Cohen here, regular moderator. How are you? We got Alfredo Arujo. How are you, my friend? And we got Handquake once again. Good to see you. Moderator and member of the channel. And we got Eric Johnson. How are you, my friend? So quickly, just as a few housekeeping measures, I just want to let everybody know, hit that thumbs up. That helps get it spread out over YouTube. The algorithm likes that. The other thing I want to ask you is help support the channel. We got memberships, which helps out on a monthly basis. We've got super chats that brings you to the front of the line in terms of having your chat heard or your comment or question heard. And then, of course, super stickers. And then, of course, there's super thanks on my recorded video on demand videos. So that also helps. And again, I went out of pocket for these devices. Wasn't cheap. I did not get any review units from Microsoft. I'm sure we've documented, chronicled that quite a bit on this channel. So I had to go out of pocket for these three devices. Not only are they the main devices, but I also had to get the accessories for the Surface products. I did have the pen here, the Slim Pen 2 from last year. Used it with the Surface Duo 2 as well. So I didn't have to go out of pocket for that, but I did have to buy these type covers, and I did have to buy the units themselves. So what you're getting here, of course, is an unbiased, fair, I think, assessment of these devices. And I did my unboxing and first look videos simultaneously yesterday on both the Surface devices and the Pro devices, and of course the Laptop 5. So if you didn't check it out, they're doing really well. We seem to be the top of the search on that. Search is doing really well on those terms, so I'm getting a lot of traffic that way. So let's talk about what we have here today. We have, I see, already 34 of you watching, so let's get right to it. So right now we're looking at, on the left, is the Surface Pro 9 with 5G. And we'll get to your comments and questions. Let me just go the overview on this one. And this is the first time we're getting 5G on a Surface device, right? So we had the Surface Pro X last year running that the Snapdragon processor, right? The SQ2, which was essentially the HCX Gen 2 modified under a collaboration between Microsoft and, of course, Qualcomm. Now, as far as this one, this was one I was highly anticipating, not only having the 5G, but it also has the neural processing unit on it, or the NPU. Gives you some a little advanced features or other features you don't get on this one, which is obviously the Surface Pro 9 running an Intel 12th Gen processor. And my time with it so far has been good. I haven't been as critical on these as much as I had been on the Laptop 5, and we'll get to that in the second part of this live stream. But my overall takeaway is the performance, obviously, so far far has been better on the Intel. That is not a surprise. 12th gen Intel Core i5 1235U, but of course you could also get it with the Core i7 1255U. And that one will give you better performance, good multi-core, good single core. And we saw from the numbers that I showed in that initial video I put out yesterday. Now, as far as this one is concerned, the SQ3 is actually a big improvement over the SQ2 in terms of that Surface Pro X. And again, no longer are they offering the Surface Pro X. They are now folding that into the Surface Pro line proper and now offer two variants. And I think it's also going to cause a lot of confusion because if you don't choose carefully, and for the average consumer, they're not going to know what's the difference between an SQ3 and an Intel-based Surface device. And the SQ3, as I mentioned earlier, gives you the NPU, and that takes a lot of, or some of the things off the main CPU, and that will handle peripheral things such as the microphones, such as the camera. It adds additional features that you don't get on the Intel variant. So it might cause a little bit of confusion in the marketplace when people are going to be looking at these devices and wondering, well, which one do I get? Now, for me, I like the option to have the 5G, which is obviously this one on the left, because the 5G gives you that always-on connection when you're on the road. It also theoretically is supposed to give you better battery life on this one than you would on the Intel version. And so far in the initial testing that I've done, that is holding true. In my first battery test I did on this, on mixed usage, I got about 12 and a half hours with this. And that is with the 120 Hertz enabled. And again, we'll talk about the displays. These are the PixelSense Flow displays, and you can see them here. And they are really good displays. Now, as far as the battery life with it on 60 Hertz, well, I didn't test that yet, but I would imagine at least another hour, maybe hour and a half plus if you do bump it down. Again, higher refresh rate will use more battery life, obviously. Now, this is fanless, by the way. So this is fanless. I believe this one is not fanless, the one on the right, which is the Intel. Somebody correct me if I'm not wrong, but there is no fan on this one. That is one of the benefits also of going with a Qualcomm-based or an ARM-based processor. Let's get a few of your questions. So far, hello from Singapore. We got Eric Johnson was here. We got Dean Thompson, as I said, hello. Pete Fox is here. And Arthropod Spidey feels like the SQ3 is behind the M1 and the M2. So the SQ3, in my estimation, is definitely behind the M1 and the M2. I think Apple is leading the pack in that regard. But as far as comparing it to the SQ2 or the HCX Gen 2, depending on who's doing it, of course, yes, it is a definite improvement year over year, or gen over gen, I should say. So will the fan kick in? Excuse me. Will the fan kick in when? Let me just do something real quick. So will the fan kick in under Intel Surface's running Zoom? So the fan hasn't been too bad on it. It does come in intermittently depending on what you're doing. I'll have more to say on it. But under Zoom call, I haven't done a Zoom call on it yet, but I have noticed the fan come in every now and then. As far as and again, thank you, Eric, for putting the Q before the question. I forgot to mention that. Helps me identify questions. But as far as this unit, it's been totally silent. Okay, did they get rid of the headphone jack? And that's a very good point. They did get rid of it, unfortunately. And it's not, unlike the Dell XPS 13, I should premise this by saying the Dell XPS 13 Plus, we know, got rid of the headphone jack. And they did it because they needed to get more thermal headway, needed more room. That's not why Microsoft did it here. They are using the same chassis basically as the Surface Pro 8 last year in terms of the weight, in terms of the dimensions, basically the same. So there's really no space-saving measure here employed. They just decided to be like Apple and take away the headphone jack, which is a big head scratcher to me because a lot of people still want to have wired headphones and don't want to carry an adapter or a dongle with them everywhere they go. Just an unnecessary omission here in 2022. Question from Asphere. Does the variant of the Surface, or does the Intel variant of the Surface Pro 9 have Windows Studio effects? I'm curious to know. Windows Studio effects, I don't know. Is that something I can check? Let me see. Hold on. Is that like an app or something that I can use? I'm not familiar with that, but maybe it does. I don't know. I don't see anything there. I'd have to look into that. Anybody who knows anything about that, I don't know. Bottom line is, as far as the Surface devices are concerned, the better performance is on this. Now, and right now I'm connected, and what you're seeing is the display from the Surface Pro 5 with that Qualcomm processor, well, the Snapdragon, or I should say the SQ3, and this is the one with the 5G. So we're going to run a little benchmark here. And let me put myself down there. I ran it. I want to run the Cinebench R. Let's actually go to the Crystal Disk Mark R15, and that one I already preloaded here. Let me just go to the downloads, and where the hell is it? There it is. Let's just run this, and we're going to run it also on this one. Now remember, this is going to run, I think, not in emulation, but in a virtualization, right? So it should be able to run everything. We should have no issues. And then on this one, let me go to my downloads, and let me go to the Cinebench R15, and let's get that same test. And I just want to show you a little bit of a difference between an Intel processor, because again, it's going to cause a lot of confusion between the ARM and the Intel. And let's agree to the software license and let them run while we're talking here. Okay, so Windows Studio Effects, according to Asphere, is basically camera effects. No, so the camera effects, excuse me, I think are only going to be in this one. That one is not going to have those extra things, and that has to do with that neural processing unit that it has, or the NPU. So keep that in mind. Can you test to see if, let's see what this is. Agent 091, how are you? Can you test to see if Figma, the leading UI design software, operates on Windows or WOA or Windows on ARM? Extra points for testing Windows subsystem for Linux too. We'll have to do all that stuff. I'm going to look into the Linux on this. I know I keep saying things like that, and I just never get the time. But this one we're going to devote some time to. Now, my overall takeaway while these are running the benchmarks, and we already have some interesting results because of this is running in virtualization. That only got 14.01 frames per second. And again, I think it really has to do with the fact that it is an ARM processor, and this Cinebench R15 is really not designed for this. So, and you can see the difference, 86, and I can show it to you here, 86 frames per second versus 14. Now, let's run the CPU. I don't know why I think I hit the one by accident there. Hold on. Let's run the CPU on the Intel, and then we'll run it back on this one. I'm going to have to restart the ARM one because I hit it by accident. Okay, there we go. So actually, you know what? Let me see if I can close it out. Maybe not. All right, let it run again. Maybe we'll get a bit different test. Can anybody answer Michael Does Life? Is Windows Studio Effects out yet? I don't know if there is. Perhaps the Windows update pending result in better scores. Maybe. Again, for everyday use like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing on this one, again, the ARM one, it's worked out pretty well. And as you can see here, I don't know if you could see it, but it's 1583 CB, which is about what we'd expect from a 12th gen Intel processor here in 2022. I'm going to test this one. And again, we got 13 here. You can see it here. Let me run the same CPU test. Now, we want to see how it'll compare to the Intel, which got 1583. Let's see how it's going to do now. And so basically what I've been seeing so far is pretty good performance out of this. Now, is it going to be the best performance you're going to get? Is it comparable to an Intel 12th gen? Of course not. I would say it's equivalent to a Core i5 11th gen from last year. That's what I'm seeing on this. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to be a workhorse in that sense, but it's going to be certainly adequate when you take it on the road. You want that longevity of the battery life. You want to be able to get work done, say, type out emails, documents, and Word, spreadsheets. It'll be fine. It'll do the job, and that's all you can ask for. All right, so that's running. Yeah, I'm going to have to test all that stuff, Ahmed, with the Android stuff. So here's a good example. Right now you can see 726 CB versus 1586. So that's about half the performance, right, of what we're seeing on the Intel. Pretty interesting. And then we can look at the top down. All right, let's go to the next test. And let me take a screenshot. Hold on. Okay, let's go to the next test. And let's go to the Cinebench R20. So we go to the downloads here. And let's go to this one. And there it is. Okay, so this one is ready to go. So let me just hit run on this. And they're both in the performance mode. Again, these are not going to be scorchers on either one. You know, even on the U series here, that's built more for battery life. And again, I have to test the battery on the Intel version. Still need to do all that testing. So these are running right now. And you can even see it here. I mean, you can see that this is rendering a lot faster than this. And this test, the Cinebench R20, is testing the CPU performance. So just bear that in mind. All right, we got let's see, 63 of you. We only got 31 likes. Hit that. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get this spread out over YouTube. Now, the other thing is with this is the price on these units. Now, some of you might be asking, well, is it worth it to get this over the Surface Pro 8? So unless you need 5G, and this is going to be my overall theme here, unless you need 5G with the Qualcomm one and you specifically need that, and I think you really are better off with the Surface Pro 8 when it's all said and done. Same thing with the Intel. Yes, you're going to get better performance out of that 12th gen year over year. Well, better multi-core, better single core, but is it worth paying all that money, that premium? And it's not cheap with the accessories and everything. It gets to be very expensive. I still think right now the Surface Pro 8 is a better deal. Let's be honest. And you can go get the Surface Pro 8 for, I think right now, Best Buy for $799. That doesn't include the type cover. It doesn't include the pen. But for $799, and again, I believe they give student discounts as well. You know, you really are getting very comparable to what you're getting here. In fact, you're probably going to get better performance than you would get on the SQ3 here. So you really have to decide, is it really worth, if you have a Surface Pro 8, is it really worth upgrading? According to Stephen Chang, is the 120 hertz screen variable, dynamic, or fixed? We're going to talk about that. That is dynamic. There is on this one, at least. Let me look on this one. Well, that's running in the background, of course. We can go here, actually. You can actually see the display settings. And when you go to the advanced display settings, and these are 2880 by 1920, they're both the same resolution, 3:2 aspect ratio. But if you go to the advanced display settings, right now it's on 120. But if you go above that, it's dynamic. You can revert it here. I'm not going to change it, but you can change it to dynamic, and you can see it there. So it'll go between 60 and 120, depending on what your needs are at the time. So it'll automatically do it, dynamic refresh rate. So both of them have that. The only thing is this one has Dolby Vision Plus, I believe, as an option, the Intel one. I don't think this one has that. That's maybe another slight difference between the two. So this is still running. That already finished. That had a score of 3519. This is still running. So this is just going to show you the difference in the processing power between the Intel, which is a more mature, more powerful chipset, than the SQ3. Where the SQ3 is going to benefit you is going to be the battery life. Now, the performance, as I mentioned, is going to be better than the SQ2. So it's year over year, or gen over gen, I should say, is better, but it's not still nowhere near the M1 or the M2, any of the Ryzens or the Intel processors as we see here. So according to Jimmy Fowl, mine came with 60 hertz enabled by default, but there are options for dynamic. So interestingly enough, mine came, and I bought it retail. Again, I didn't get review units from Microsoft, so I went out of pocket. Mine came out of the box 120 on both. I believe on both, if I'm not mistaken. So I would have to put it onto the dynamic mode, fluctuate between 60 and 120, or you just go around down to 60 and do better in battery life altogether. A lot of people are wondering about that. And I think if you want better battery life, going to that 60 will give you at least another hour, hour and a half, maybe more, depending on what you're doing. So here's another example. And you can see it here, 1307 versus the 3519 in the Intel variant. So again, much better performance on Intel, right? So that's the theme here, right? So as far as the SSD is concerned, on the SQ3 version with the 5G, this has, and I can go to this PC, this has I got the 128. Again, I went out of pocket here. So I went with the entry level model here. And again, that's going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM, LPDDR5, and it also has a 128, which is a joke. Now, it is user upgradable, as I showed you in the video. So according to Agent 091, the performance jumps between the SQ generations have been impressive. Unfortunately, I expect next year's chip to be just like up clocking like the SQ1, the SQ2. So what's that project that Qualcomm's working on that will really be a game changer, I guess, that's really going to challenge the M1, the M2. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head, but definitely that is a big jump from what we have here. They're not ready with that yet. And 128, yes, Brent is a no-go here in 2022. The only reason I bought it is because this is the entry-level model, and that costs $1299. Really, it's a very expensive device when you consider that you're getting less performance on it versus the Intel, which has a starting price of $999 and goes down even less if you have a student discount or in the military, and goes down to $899. So again, that's without the accessories. Again, links for all of this stuff will be in the description below. And if you want to get the Surface Pro 8, the Surface Pro 8 is right now on sale at Best Buy, and I have a link in the description below. $799, doesn't have the type cover or the pen. You'll have to pay extra for that. But I think for those that are in the market, buy that. I think you're going to be very happy with that. This is not a massive update this year. What you're seeing here is more of a little bit of a performance update. Not a little bit. It's a nice performance update with Intel. And then, of course, the only reason I think you'd want to look at this, if you want the 5G model, and that's just a very specific use case because you're not going to get the performance you would get on the Intel. So something just to bear in mind. Question to William, can you run the Crystal Disk speed test? Yes, I'm about to get to that. I appreciate that to remind me because I do get sidetracked. So let me load in the downloads. And the Crystal Disk Mark test is right here. And this will test that 128 gigabyte SSD. And again, it is user upgradable if you can find them. Remember, they're that really small ones that were hard to find last year. I don't know the status of them now. So we can lower that down. And let me go here. And let me load this one in. So while that's unpacking, let me hit the button and let that run. Now, this one, what do I have on this one? So this one's at 256. So this might do a little bit better simply because it's a bigger drive. Usually speeds get a little bit better when the SSD has got more capacity. That's been the theme for the most part. The SSD is user upgradable, which saves on money. Yes, Steven, if you can find those. Again, they're the really small ones. Easy to access on this one. You don't even need the SIM ejection tool. This one you do because this also has a SIM tray for your 5G SIM card. Yes, thank you, Agent 091. Thinking of the Nuvia project or Project Nuvia from Qualcomm. Qualcomm is trying to sue them, so they might cause a delay. Ooh, okay. So Project Nuvia was very promising, at least on paper, right, of how well they can do to compete in the ARM space. Well, we'll see. So you like that, Jay Valencia, how are you? You like that green color, right? I like it too. And here's a back shot of it. So this is the forest green, or forest they're calling this. This is the platinum. And again, you can only get the 5G model in the platinum. They don't offer it in this color, which is a little bit of a shame. Maybe they can do that down the road. But there are other colors. I believe there's sapphire, graphite, and then a 10th anniversary edition, the Liberty edition, or the whatever they're calling it with that pattern on it. That obviously wasn't sent to me by Microsoft. I did not get any of these units. I did go out of pocket for these. Okay, according to ARM is suing them, right? So Nuvia is the project that Qualcomm's working on. The ARM consortium is suing them. So that might cause a delay, which it was just unfortunate, of course, because as the consumers, we are the ones who suffer in the end result. So not great. Hopefully that will get resolved sooner rather than later. Okay, so we got let's see any other questions. Let me go back. Put a Q before your question so I can get to your comment or question. I think I got to most of them so far. We got 60 of you watching. Okay, and let's see what's going on here. So as you can see here, this is the 128. And again, poultry 128 here in 2022. It's unacceptable. But again, that's $12.99, folks, and that's one of the problems here. Yeah, I want the 5G, but the price of admission is very expensive because the type cover is going to be expensive, and so is the pen. So when it's all said and done, I think that's $200 and what is that, $270 or something like that for the bundle. Add that to the already $1,300 you're paying, you're over $1,500 or so, maybe $1,600 with tax and everything, if my math is right tonight. So that is an expensive proposition. My feeling is, people, and I mentioned it earlier, and there's a link if you want to check it out, Surface Pro 8 on sale from Best Buy for $799 is a steal. It's the same body, same display, and I think maybe they did update it for the dynamic refresh rate, hopefully. 120 hertz is the max. That's going to be great, okay? And I think that's the one, if you want to save some money, that's the one to go with. With the Surface Pro 9 here, I don't think there's enough here to justify the price. And it's very expensive. It's very, very expensive when you consider the type cover, signature type cover, I should say, and then, of course, the Slim Pen 2. Now, the Slim Pen 2, as you can see here, it's the Carpenter style pen. I've showed you this numerous times. You can see it here. You can see it here. It's really nice, okay? It's nice for taking notes. It gives you haptic feedback. It's great for sketching out diagrams, great for sketching out artwork. I think it's really nice. And I love the fact that you can charge and store it here in the keyboard cover. I think that's a clever design. I liked it when they implemented it, and I like the fact that they're going with it here. Now, for the other thing that you need to know, for those that have the Surface Pro 8 or the Surface Pro X and have the cover and thinking of getting the Surface Pro 9, you don't need to buy these again. These are compatible with the Surface Pro 9. So if you have a Surface Pro 8 type cover or a Surface Pro X type cover, those are all compatible with this unit. The other ones prior to that are not. They have a different connection on that, and you won't be able to use them, for those wondering. According to Asphere, Andrew, Mark David, price tags of the Surface Pro 9 are awful. For the base model, $256 should be the minimum. So I've ranted and raved about this, and other devices, and with Apple does this bullshit where they nickel and dime the customer to get them through the door. It's a bait and switch. Nobody in their right mind should buy this one. I bought it because I'm taking the bullet. I'm taking one for the team, for you guys. But nobody, I mean nobody, should buy a device, a phone. Well, maybe a phone with a certain 4 gigabytes of RAM and stuff like that. You have to have a minimum of 8, preferably 16 gigabytes of RAM. And as far as storage is concerned, do not get anything below 256. Now, according to William, it makes one wonder why Microsoft went with this proprietary SSD. Using a standard Gen 3 SSD is faster, much easier to buy. I think they could have designed this so that the user could upgrade. And William, that is a very good point. Obviously, they're in the business to make money. They're in the business to make profit, right? So doesn't it make sense to make sure that it's very hard to find these, so when you are buying these, you will buy the ones that are more expensive for the higher capacity storage so they can make more profit? it's capitalism. I understand that. But I just think at the end of the day, it just leaves a bad taste in the consumer's mouth. Let them have the ability to upgrade this stuff, save some money, let it last longer, let the tech be more useful long-term. And I think it's just nickel and diming. And Apple does it. Other companies do it. And so does Microsoft. Now, so far, you might be saying, well, why am I so harsh on Microsoft on this? And is it maybe because I'm bitter that they didn't invite me to any of the press events and they didn't send me any devices? No, I couldn't care less. In fact, I'm actually kind of happy they didn't, because it gives me the freedom, not that they would have any copy approval with me or any kind of say in anything I did if they were to provide me a review unit, because I would never agree to that. But it gives me the freedom to just say to you, this is unbiased. I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm not doing this just for the clicks. I'm doing this because I'm acting on your behalf as an advocate for the consumer. If I were to buy this as a consumer, which I did, I went with my own money, I would want to make sure somebody gave me all the right information. And when you get through all the marketing fluff and all the marketing money that they threw at this, at the end of the day, if I were to buy a Surface Pro device, and I love these devices, people, and that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate. I actually like these type of devices, as well as the laptops and, of course, everything else. But if I had to put my own money with it, I would go with the Surface Pro 8. Save yourself some money. You'll have a very good experience, very comparable to what we see here, maybe even better, because, again, you're not going to get the performance on this SQ3 as you would on, say, an Intel-based processor. Yeah, you know, Jay Valencia, I take the hit for you guys. Obviously, I want to grow the channel, and I love this stuff as an interest to me. I like doing all this, but again, I couldn't afford to go out and buy the top of the line. These things are expensive. So again, super chats, super stickers help out, memberships help out, super thanks help out. There are ways to help support the channel. I'm an independent creator, and what does that mean? You might be saying, well, what the hell does that mean? Well, I'm not a part of a corporate structure. I don't have the capital of, say, The Verge or CNET or Engadget and all those publications or those outlets. They have a very big corporate structure behind them. They are able to do a lot more than I can do simply because they have the funds to do it. But I'm independent. I give you raw, honest reviews. And we got our first super chat from Pete Fox. Okay, my friend, $10. And I really do appreciate it. According to Pete, I like these live streams. Here's my vote for more. I appreciate that. And yeah, I would like to do more of them. Of course, I have to balance my schedule between these reviews, my day job as well, and of course, doing these live streams. No problem, Dean. And when I say take the hit, it's a term that I use not because I'm upset about it. I willfully do all this. I love this stuff, playing with all these gadgets. Who wouldn't like it? I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's exhausting, but it's very rewarding at the end of the day. According to Agent 091, I'd be more willing to give through Patreon over YouTube. Totally. I've got to get that all settled down, straightened out. You know what the best way to support the channel, though, in the end of the day, besides money? Hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing the videos through your social media handles and so forth. That's the way you can help me. And because growth leads to getting a lot more devices. Again, Microsoft did not send me these like they did to the iJustines, the MKBHDs, and all them. They're getting all these review units. They're getting them ahead of time. I'm an independent creator. I'm an independent reviewer. I'm not beholden to anybody. You know what I'm beholden to? You guys. You're the audience, and that's how I roll. That's the way we do it here on the channel. So I appreciate that, Pete, and thank you for that super chat. I'd like to see Windows on ARM running x86 and 64 apps. So Heather, so far, I have not had any compatibility issues regarding this. So all these apps that you're seeing here right now, so say the Crystal Disk Mark test, I'm using the 64-bit app. As far as The Cinebench R23, we're going to run that in a moment. These are all running in virtualization, I believe, but they're running fine. With the prior generations, there were compatibility issues unless it was ground up, made for ARM, or Microsoft made sure that it was compatible. There was a lot of incompatibilities. There were a lot of problems down the road. People couldn't run certain applications. I'm seeing a lot less of that with this version. And I saw that with the ThinkPad X13S Gen 1 that I have been using for the last few months. And that was my first taste of that Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3, which this one is based on as well. Now, let's take a look at these speeds here. So, as I suspected, the 128 that is found on this one did pretty decent on the read. The writes are a little bit below what we were hopefully to see, where the 256 here shows a lot better, 3506 on the read and 2522 on the write. So that means that if I were to buy this outright, which I did, of course, but if I was a consumer and I didn't have a YouTube channel, I was going to buy this as my only device, I would make sure I'd get one with proper storage on this. I wouldn't get this 128. Or if I knew I could get a replacement that had a higher capacity that wasn't hard to find, I would then jump on this. That's the other thing. Again, they're hard to find those drives. Now, just for those wondering what I'm talking about, if I go here, let me unplug this for a moment. So what we're talking about is this little trap door here. And I don't know if I have a SIM tray, a SIM card ejection tool here. But I can show it to you. So this one, and I showed it on the video, this one was opened up. It does have the 128, and then it has a SIM tray. And then this one comes off pretty easy, and I can show you right now. You just hit that little indentation there, boom, and there you go. And for those wondering what it looks like, there it is. So, and then it goes back on pretty easily as well. So again, these are very hard to find, okay? This is 256. If anybody knows any good sites to buy them, or they know where somebody has a supply, let us know, and I'll put a link in the description below. I'll put it in the chat. We can help your fellow viewers out. Okay, so that is the SSDs, and let me make sure that this, let me go here, hold on. Okay, so let me put this one over here. Now, one thing I will tell you is that the sign-in options here, and again, both have an IR webcam, and this one logged in real quick. Again, the neural engine. Let's take a look, and let me plug this in. Let's take a look at the camera on this one. So let me, I didn't really get a chance to play with it all that much, so if anybody wants to chime in, I looked at it, gave an example on the video, but let's see, hold on, let me get that logged in. Let's see the camera on this. Let me load it up. So this is the one I'm really obviously interested in. And I showed you again an example in the video. I thought it was pretty good. So here it is, and I can put it on the screen here. So Windows Studio Effects right here is what we were talking about. Let me connect this. So this is the button for that. So what everybody's making a brouhaha. Auto framing. So I connect that. Auto framing allows you to stay in frame. Supposed to be. And then oh, there it is. See, it's working now. Eye contact helps you appear to be looking directly at the camera. And then background effects, standard blur, as you see here, or portrait blur. I think I prefer portrait blur. Now, keep in mind, I have studio lights, so there you go. Oh, we got another super chat from Jay Valencia. Nice. $9.99, and that helps out the channel. That's really nice of you. Thank you. So those are the Windows Studio effects. Now, do we know if we get that on this one? So let's bring that up, okay, on this one. And let me go to the camera on the Intel variant. I'm having a lot of fun here tonight for some reason. 77 of you. Good to see everybody. All right. So you want to know something? Look at this. You don't get it on this one as you do on this one, right? So that neural processing unit, or the MPU that you get on this Qualcomm-based one, that gives you that this ability, right? So here it is: blurred background, portrait blur, standard blur. I think I like this one, right? And then if I turn it off, no blur. Eye contact, again, eye contact is off right now. Appears to be looking directly at the camera. Helps you appear to be looking directly at the camera. Kind of weird, I guess. I'd have to use that in action. And then auto framing, I have it off now. Again, these are some of the features that they let you do. What's your question, Ruho? Q. Couldn't change it to 10. Okay. The SSD form factor for these units is NVMe M.2 2230. So thank you for that. What do you think about the cameras here? So we can take a look at these sort of here. You can see it from the side. Again, glossy displays. Keep that in mind. I'm trying to see it so you can see both. Okay. Let me go to the next question. And then for Agent 019, for someone who only uses Office apps, media streaming, a browser, would you still suggest the Intel x86 model over the Qualcomm ARM model? So for very basic tasks, right? For very basic tasks, this is fine. It's an expensive proposition, though. In the end of the day, $12.99 doesn't even cover the type cover. It doesn't cover the pen, right? And I think those are must-have accessories for these type of devices, at least in my opinion. So when you're looking at this, you have to ask yourself, yeah, those are nice basic tasks that this chipset can definitely handle, but at what cost? I can get a Surface Pro 8 right now on sale for $799, right? And then add in the type cover and all that, it still comes out a lot cheaper than going with this. Now, the one differentiating factor in all of this is the 5G. Now, this uses the millimeter wave standard, not the sub-6, I believe it's millimeter wave. So what does that mean? Well, you're gonna have that always-on connection, but to be honest with you, 5G hasn't been the greatest thing in this world so far, at least here in Las Vegas. It may be in other places a lot better, but I have not seen great speeds, great connections for the most part. And I'm using Verizon, I've used T-Mobile, I've used all the others. So, you know, it's maybe just not mature yet, even after a couple of years that it's been out. Now, having said that, it's great to have an always-on connection. And this is the first Surface device to have 5G, right? So it's a little bit more future-proof. But the bottom line is that how much you're willing to pay. And that's what it comes down to. Do you need to have it? No. You can always use your phone, or you can, hotspot it and all that stuff. But the bottom line is you want a secure connection, 5G. This is a great device, except that I just think it's expensive. The cost of admission is $12.99 plus the accessories, plus that. You're looking at $1,500–$1,600, and that's only for the 8GB model, 128. You need to get a minimum of 256 in terms of the storage, and a minimum of 16 gigabytes. I don't know if it goes beyond that. So you want 16, you want 256, and there it gets very, very, very expensive. And okay, and then according to ES, I'm waiting for your full review of these new Surface models, but I was wondering if you had tested real-life battery for the Surface Pro 9 Intel version. I didn't get to that yet. Again, I just got these. I did the initial test for this one, which is the Qualcomm or the SQ3, and I got mixed, real-world mixed usage. You're looking at 12.5 hours, a little bit above that actually, about 12 to 1240. Yeah, about 12.5 hours is what I saw. On this one, expect less. Again, I did this with the 120 Hertz refresh rate enabled. If you go down to the 60 Hertz, I would give you another hour to hour and a half, maybe a little bit more depending on what you're doing. And then, of course, I'm going to test it with the dynamic refresh rate. That one will supposedly do it for you, cycle depending on what you're doing. Bump it down to 60 when you don't need the high refresh rate, and then bump it up when you do need it. That's the dynamism or the dynamic refresh rate. They both have that. Now, as far as the displays themselves, and as I mentioned, they're both perfectly fine. I have no issues with them. The bezels are fine on these. I think for the most part, what you're seeing here are pretty nice, gorgeous displays. I really am a big fan of these Surface Pro displays. I think with the Pixel Sense Flow, I think they do a really good job. And one of the other things, like I said, I'm pushing the Surface Pro 8. It just makes sense because it's really the same display. I don't see a difference, to be honest with you. And so that's the other thing to keep in mind. You're really not getting anything special in terms of the display here. You're getting the same thing year over year. Now, okay, so that's the cameras here. I think the cameras are good. Let's turn our attention for now. Maybe we can come back to this. I want to talk about the Surface Laptop 5, unless somebody has something else they want me to show them. Again, I'm going to do a comprehensive full review on both of these, so stay tuned. I'm going to be working all weekend on them, so look for your inboxes. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So AI. So the AI features are only in this one. So the AI are only in this one. This one doesn't have those features, okay? So the keeping you in frame, keeping you, the eye contact, what was it? The eye contact and the background blur effects. These are only available in this model. Future is AI. And then Agent 019 says that the fanless design is something a lot of people want. That's hard to come by in the Windows world. Yes, it's one thing that eludes a lot of Windows users. They want to have a quiet experience, especially when you want to do productivity work. Definitely something that they're interested in. Let me take screenshots of these, because I don't know if I did that yet. All right, let's bring out, what do you say we bring out the Surface Laptop 5 and talk about that? But let me take this screenshot. Okay, so let me close these, okay? And let me put it back to here. And let's put these to the side. And let's bring this beauty out. And this is a sage green here. So you're looking at the sage green. Kids screaming in the background. Quiet with kids screaming in the background. You can see it here. So this is the sage green, and I think this is a beautiful color, people. So this one you see here, and we can actually put them side by side just to give you an idea of which green is which. This is a lighter green. Surface Laptop 5 here. And we'll be able to plug this one in as well. I'm a big fan of this. I love the keyboard on this. Now, I'm a bit disappointed on some very major things we're going to talk about in a moment. Let me plug this one in. Okay, so let me put these down. Okay, so here you're looking at the Surface, and you can see it here. Let me get that in focus. Surface Laptop 5, Surface Pro 9. And let me adjust the camera. Hold on. Let me give you a second. I'm going to get it in focus. Okay. So what do we have here? This is an Intel-based laptop. Of course, this is running the Core i5-1235U. You can get it with a Core i7 here, and you can also get it with the Core i7-1255U. Now, integrated Iris Xe graphics. One thing you want to know about this one, comes in a 13.5-inch display. The huge bezels, yes, they're back. The big-ass bezels, which is a big disappointment. The 720p camera, big disappointment. The AMD variant is no longer a big disappointment. And they do keep the headphone jack. One little positive thing is that this was no headphone jack here. There is a headphone jack. Now, no Alcantara on this sage green. Sage green is beautiful. The build quality is excellent. The Whisper Quiet keyboard is excellent. You can see it here. I love typing on this. One of my favorites. Love the minimalist design. No 120 hertz refresh rate. Another ding right there. So just like you have a dynamic refresh rate here, you don't get it on here. You do get this with an option for a 15-inch display. But again, the biggest disappointments are no AMD, no high refresh rate, no No, like all the things I pointed out, right? The 720p webcam, weight-wise, everything's the same. Battery-wise, everything's the same. Just getting a new color here. And you can see it from behind here. This is the forest, and then this is the sage green. You can see a little bit of fingerprints on it as well. But I got to tell you, love the keyboard, as I mentioned. Performance has been pretty decent with it, of course. And it also has, theoretically, upgradable SSD, right? Well, how's that possible? Well, you got to go to a Microsoft certified technician, or you could do it yourself if you're not of the faint of heart. If you are able to tinker a little bit, there is a way to do it. There are videos out there. I wouldn't do it, and I tinker all the time. It's just me. I probably wouldn't do it. So really not upgradable. So if you're going to get this, make sure you get enough RAM, make sure you get enough storage for your needs, because you're going to run out. Okay, you're going to run out, and I don't know if they offer this in, I think 256 might be the minimum. I don't think they offer this in 128. What do I have on this one? Let me see here. Maybe they do offer it. I have the 512. Okay, 512 on mine. And again, that's because I wanted this color, and I think it only comes in that minimum of 512 in terms of the SSD. Yes, I'm glad you love your Pro 8. And again, I'm pushing people towards the Pro 8. My recommendation, if you already have a Surface Pro 8, there is no reason to upgrade to Surface Pro 9 unless you need the 5G and unless you want those extra features you get with the neural processing unit, or the MPU. Not worth that big price of admission for that model, in my opinion. Now, laptop 5, starting price, I believe this is $999. You can get a student discount. Military teachers can get it down to $899. This one was more money, of course. Link, of course, are all in the description below. So just something you want to be aware of. 84 watching, only 68 likes. Tom, thank you for bringing that up. What's the deal, people? You know, this is a lot of hard work. So do me a favor, just hit that thumbs up. Let's get this spread out over YouTube. I see we have 85 watching. Okay. So I see we're gaining momentum as we're going on. So the Surface Laptop 5 is a big, big disappointment to me, people. And why do I say that? Well, for the Surface Laptop 4, which I reviewed last year, one of my favorites, I really enjoyed that. I was expecting a 1080p camera, and we can take a look at the camera right now. You tell me what you think. It's not bad for a 720p camera, but for God's sakes, we're in 2022. It's got to be a minimum of 1080p. You put it in the Surface Pro 8. Why can't you put a good camera in this? Great. I'm glad you hit that like button. So let's take a look at this camera here. Let me load it up. And we can look at it here. So you don't get any of the features. It's not bad. Look, I'm not bashing them for putting a 720p camera. It's the same one we got last year. The question is, why didn't they put a 1080p? This is, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this supposed to be a flagship device? Isn't what Microsoft's doing in the Surface line supposed to lead the way to the OEMs, to the HPs, the Dells, the Lenovos, all the others, the MSIs, and all these other brands? Aren't they supposed to be a guiding light? Don't put this crap into your flagship device. Yeah, I consider this a flagship device. You know why? That's a flagship price. Okay? So you have to start doing better, Microsoft. And again, I'm not being critical for sake of being critical or dinging them for this, but the reason I'm saying this is because you have the means to put a 1080p camera in here. We're in 2022, post-pandemic. We're in a hybrid work environment. People are working from home. We need to have clarity. We need to be able to hear you and see you. Now, this is a very good 720p camera. This is very good. But is it 1080p? No, it's not. So there you go. So you agree with me. Maybe no 1080p due to the supply chain. No, I don't want to hear that. No, this is Microsoft, people. Please. This is, I don't want to hear supply issues. They were able to put it in the Surface Pro 8, the Surface Pro 9. They can put it here in the Laptop 5. They lead in form factors and software integration, leaving room for OEMs to specify certain areas. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But at a minimum here in 2022, you can put a goddamn 1080p camera in this thing. Now, am I overreacting? Probably. But if I'm going to buy a Surface device, a flagship from Microsoft, I want to have the best in it, right? So that's not great. And the other thing is, like I mentioned, no AMD variant. And why is that a big deal? Yeah, Intel's doing great with their 12th gen, that's fine. The reason it's not good for the consumer is a couple of reasons. Competition obviously is better, the consumer benefits. But putting that aside, you're not going to do better on battery life. The Ryzen chips are very efficient, right? So you can kiss getting better battery life goodbye. They won't have that this year. You'll do less battery life on this, and my initial testing is confirming that. So you can kiss getting better battery life goodbye. And by limiting yourself to just Intel this time around, you really are hurting the consumer, in my opinion. Look at all the OEMs, according to Tom, that left out the Windows Hello facial. They can't win them all. No, they can't. But I expect when Microsoft does it, they do it the best. They've always done great cameras. This is a good this is a good 720p camera, right? But it's not 1080p. It's not getting all the extra features we want to see. HP's killing it in 2022 with their cameras, right? I'm just bringing them out because they've really stepped up their game, even on their budget stuff. Their cameras are great. Intel CPU is better for performance. They sacrifice a bit worse efficiency. Yeah, they're not as efficient. We know this. I've tested a number of laptops this year. The conclusion is the same. AMD Ryzens are efficient. They're more efficient. They'll get you better battery life for the most part. And then we have Intel, which is good for really good with the cores, throwing the cores at everything. Not as efficient, not as good in the battery. Another super chat from Spider Web. And love all your hard work and effort you put into these videos. I really enjoy watching your reviews. I appreciate that. Thank you for that $20 super chat. I do really appreciate it. Not as efficient now. Nuvia. Project Nuvia, which hopefully won't be bogged down in litigation, right? They're being sued by the ARM consortium. I think the camera seems to be working really well. The numbers don't matter. No, they don't. Isabel, in the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But if I'm going to pay for what I'm paying for these devices, and again, it looks great for a 720p, but that's not what should be on this, okay? Not in 2022. I don't want to see a 720p on anything above $1,000. Technically, this is $1,000 entry, and nobody should be buying the entry-level model. I think the reason they aren't using AMD is due to the chip shortage and the fact that the Surface devices should not outcompete the other OEMs. So tell the press that. Tell the people that. Don't hide and say, well, we just decided not to do it this year. Tell them the reason. If it is a chip shortage, fine. But I don't believe it. I think other OEMs have been able to put AMD products out. Yeah, there has been some issues, no doubt about it. But with Microsoft's cloud, Microsoft's ability as a company, one of the biggest companies in the world, they can figure this out. I just find that hard to believe. I'm not sure what kind of backroom deals are going on behind the scenes, but I liked having the AMD variant. I liked having a choice as a consumer. I liked having better battery life. Not getting it. Surface is good for teams because, of course, they are a bet for Surface Dies, best teams. Yeah, no, for you're using Microsoft Teams. Yeah, it should be. It should be that way. Now, according to Brent telling Nicholas, Microsoft does not seem to be mind charging more than the OEMs. No, they're charging you more. They are charging you more. Look, prices have gone up. We're in a recession. Inflation's at an all-time high, 40-year high, whatever it is. Interest rates are up. Here we go, the political Andrew's coming out. Interest rates are up. The prices have gone up. Go to the supermarket. Everything's double, triple the prices from a year ago. It's getting to the point where it's getting ridiculous, right? So Microsoft can charge you an arm and a leg for these products, and the OEMs are guilty of this as well. But I expect to get value for that, right? So 720p, while it might be good, it's not good enough for 2022, in my opinion. Put the better camera in. Be good to your consumer, because Be honest with you, this is underwhelming, Microsoft. Underwhelming here for 2022. This has not been a great announcement this year. And don't give me the bullshit, oh, the Surface Studio 2 Plus. What's that about? So you're still a generation behind in the chipset, right? You couldn't put a 12th gen? You're telling me you couldn't supply it with a 12th gen? I understand it's a niche device, but come on. What would you suggest to those as a better alternative than this laptop 5? I had a few friends that are hugely disappointed in this upgrade, and for good reason. We have so many we've looked on here in the channel. You got the Dell XPS 13, the 13 Plus, which is great. It's expensive, but it's an interesting design. They don't have a great camera in theirs either. Who else do we have? We got the Spectre X360, the Envy X360 with that OLED display, the 13.3 inch was fantastic. I'm loving it. Great stuff from HP, the Envy line. Come on, people. They've been killing it with their cameras. There's nothing that could have been done to make this product better. It's already great. 10% increase is not going. Check your email and shopping on Amazon Fast. No, that's not the point. The purpose here, the Surface, this flagship device, has to be the best, in my opinion. You want to play with the Apples, you want to play with the all the other crap out there, act like it, right? You want to be a beacon towards the OEMs, show them the form factor, right? But do the best, right? Be the best. This is not the best. This is disappointing, to be honest. Any idea when laptops with Intel's 13th gen AMD 7 series are going to be coming out? We should start seeing them probably end of the year, early next year, I would imagine. Here's another thing I wanted to talk about. I will be going to New York in December to meet with an OEM. I'm excited about it. I should start to be seeing some of this stuff coming up. So I will be doing a lot of traveling coming up, seeing what we have in store for next year. Next gen A&D mobiles will be early next year. Thanks you, Brent. Flagship tablet though, not a flagship hybrid end user with proper cooling. Right. So new goal of the Surface is to get the AI, the rest, and lead them, and then the new form factor. Okay. I'm just giving you my opinion. I don't hate this device. I like it. It's basically a Surface Laptop 4, and I liked it last year. But again, we're getting the glossy display, the thick bezels. You're telling me, okay, let's talk about this. You're telling me they couldn't put better bezels on this, thinner bezels on this? Let me get a good angle at this. You couldn't get thinner bezels on this? Dell does it. HP does it. Lenovo does it. You can do it. I like the 3:2 aspect ratio, but do we have to have such thick bezels? I mean, is it just me? Maybe I'm being overly harsh. Maybe. Surface is now a lowest common denominator. Unfortunately, that seems to be true. And you're not talking to no bigger fan than the Surface devices than me. Over the years, you know how I felt about it. There's some of the more popular videos on my channel. I've gotten over millions of views cumulative on the Surface devices since I started this channel. So I know what I'm talking about, people. I'm not talking out of my ass here. I know what I'm talking about. For a sliver of more screen, though, what are the point of the hyper minimum? It looks better. It looks better. It's not an eyesore. This, to me, is an eyesore. These thick black bezels are an eyesore. This is not 2007. This is 2022. Again, maybe I'm nitpicking here. As I'm getting older, maybe I'm getting a little bit more cranky. But you know what? If I want the best device I can get, I want thin bezels. This would be so awesome as a This is a great laptop to begin with. I'm not saying this is not a great laptop. I'm disappointed with what they announced as this should be. You know what this should be called? The Surface Laptop 4 Plus. That would have been an honest upgrade. This should be called the Surface Laptop 4 Plus. This is not a Surface Laptop 5, in my opinion. You just threw a new coat of paint on it. Same lousy, not lousy, but the same old webcam, the same old bezels, fat bezels. Not doing it for me. It's 4A. Okay, that's even better. 4A. It's an A upgrade. Yeah, that would have been better. Call it, hey, you did it. Well, actually, they did it with the Surface Studio 2 Plus, right? So either call it Surface Laptop 4 Plus or Surface Laptop 4A. That would have been honest. But again, you're not going to sell as many because people think it's an incremental upgrade, which, let's be honest, is barely that, right? So that's what they should have done. They should have announced an update to it at all. They should have just released it with a press release. I agree. They built up the hype for pretty much nothing. What did they announce here? 5G, fine. I like that one. That's fine. It's expensive, but fine. I'm willing to bite the bullet on that. But the laptop 4, that was well, see, I just did it. That's because I'm thinking this is really a laptop 4 at the end of the day. No, laptop 5, this is not. This is not that. I agree. There are so many better options in the market today. And that's the beauty of it, right? We have so much choice here, and that's great. And we hit the 100 mark, over 100 people watching right now. So welcome, everybody. It's a lively one. This feels like the year where all the tech companies are releasing hyper minimal upgrades, if it can even be called an upgrade. And I think, again, I do understand we're coming out of the pandemic here, about a year or so removed from that. And the supply chains are starting to ramp up. But again, there's still issues. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, Microsoft, if you want to play in this arena, and I love the Surface line, and again, I don't know how much money they're really making with this. I saw a 2% increase when they did their earnings announcements. But I appreciate that, Grendel. You like my shirt, okay? But thank you. But I don't know how much money they're really making on it. But this is a flagship type device that attracts people. It's a halo device, right? Apple does these kind of things. So if you want to play in that arena, follow it up and do the right thing. Call this the 4A or the 4 Plus. Don't call it Laptop 5. They didn't care to do more than they needed to do. It's already distinctive enough to get plenty of attention, but it's not intended to be a volume seller. They can't outsell OEMs. It needs to stay niche. I agree. That's fine. That's fine. But don't put lipstick on a pig and tell me that it's beautiful. It's not. This is not beautiful. These are thick bezels. They could have thinned them out. I find it hard to believe that they're afraid to compete with their OEMs by putting thinner bezels on this. I think that's just that's not a good argument. You like it. People like the shirt. So I buy the shirt from, not sponsored, although if they want to become one, Untuck It. And I like the way they fit. You're 100% right about the screen bezels really bad for a $1,200 laptop. That's my point. If you're paying $500 or $700, it's a different story, right? Look at the iPhone 14, and that's lipstick on a pig. Well, they call a notch a feature, right? That ugly notch is a feature. This is not a feature, okay? This is not a feature. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the device. I love the Laptop 4 last year. I like this device. It's the same device, right? So I do appreciate it. I just would have liked to have seen a more of an upgrade. If you're going to call it Laptop 5, give us the upgrades. That's all I'm saying. And I understand they're not trying to compete with their OEMs. I understand that. But in the end of the day, they are, whether they like it or not. They're in the business. You can't half-ass it. You go full force. You can't sort of say, I'm a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're either in or you're out. Don't do this half-ass bullshit. Catch me on Surface Island. I like that. He's funny. William says, I have read in the news that the demand for laptops is going down. I have read that also. Maybe that is why they did not put more upgrades. Well, they didn't know that the demand was going down when they put this in the pipeline. This has been in the works for a while. Well before. They planned this stuff 24 to 48 months in advance. So, they will come. They will lead the OEMs to the AL grandeur. Hop on board. Okay. Look, I love the Surface devices, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. I know some of you don't like it. You like the Lenovo ThinkPads. You like the Dells. I like these. Not to say I like them better. No, I like this type of device. I always did, even before I had my channel. Very, very interested in the Surface devices, even from the Surface RT and all that stuff from years ago. But we'll see. You know, at the end of the day, the questions remain, is this enough of an upgrade? In my opinion, look at the Surface Laptop 4. You could save yourself some money. If you're looking for the Surface Pro 9, how about look at the Surface Pro 8? Save yourself some money. Again, financially, times are tough right now. I understand that. I'm not pushing you towards the Surface Pro 9 unless you definitely need that 5G. And you have no app compatibility issues that might arise in going with that SQ3, which might happen. Just depends on your use case scenario. So I'd prefer the Unreal battery life over a 1080p webcam I never use, or zero bezels. The camera doesn't use that much in terms of the battery, if that's your point. And as far as the bezels, that will cause mistouches when using it in tablet mode. So this is not a tablet. Let's be clear. This is not a tablet. This is a laptop. And yes, it does have touch and it does have pen support. I understand that. But you're not going to be holding this like a tablet. Let's be clear. This is a clamshell. There's no reason to have these bezels. I do not like that they went with the aluminum one over the aluminum vapor magnesium personally. So this is aluminum over magnesium. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure what you're trying to say. For the consumer, Windows may be losing market share on OS, but enterprise will stick with the Windows because of all the features they're integrated with the 365. That's a very good point. Is the aluminum going to be weaker than a magnesium? Oh, so this is aluminum. No, this is pretty strong, actually. Magnesium always feels a little light to me. I actually prefer this. I actually like what they're doing here. Always a little bit heavier. We are talking about the laptop. My mistakes are no problem. No problem. This is the 2-in-1. This you use. And these bezels, I think, are just about right when you want to use it in tablet mode. I've been using this in tablet mode, and they've been working out pretty well. So where are we? We had 103 of you, over an hour, almost an hour, 15 minutes. For those that are joining us late, we're looking at the Surface Laptop 5. We're looking at the Surface Pro 9 with 5G, and we also looked at the Intel. I'm going to have a full review on all of this stuff. Is the laptop faster? Is the laptop faster than Pro with the same specs? I didn't see too much of an edge on this over this in terms of Intel to Intel, but again, I still just got these, so I'm still doing my testing. Stay tuned. I'll talk more about that very soon. Very comparable. These have the same chipset, actually. You might get a little bit better thermals on this one just because it's a little bit bigger, maybe. But again, these are just speculation. I still need to do my testing. Now, okay, so we got 103, 95 likes. Okay, people, we're getting closer to that. Get that thumbs up. Can these be charged with USB-C? Yes, I'm doing it right now. Yes, that's one of the beauties of having Thunderbolt. And again, I'll give them credit here. They put a Thunderbolt port. First time on a laptop here, they're using Thunderbolt, and I'm charging with it right now. You can see it here. So Thunderbolt, and it's connected to, I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, it's a little bit washed out. You can see it here. This is connected to HDMI. So Thunderbolt gives you a lot of versatility when it comes to stuff like that. In general, does Windows 11 make using the tablet mode more easier, or is it still a pain? It's not the greatest experience as a tablet. I do think the iPad OS is a much better experience for certain things. But this is a laptop first, tablet second, right? Or is that correct? Well, I think when you're looking at Windows, it's more optimized, in my opinion at least, to be a laptop first. Tablet is almost like an afterthought. They've gotten better, but not great. But as a tablet, I mean, it's a pretty good tablet. It's not overly heavy. I like the pen support that it has. I think the Surface Slim Pen 2 is a really nice option there, especially for those that do sketch out diagrams, artworks, note takers. You definitely want to look at it. iPad OS is better. Laugh out loud. iPad OS is good for what it does. It's just underutilizing the power of the chipset that it has. They don't really have anything. Now, I read today that DaVinci Resolve is coming out later this year for iPad OS, and it's supposedly pretty good. I'd love to see Final Cut Pro version for the iPad OS, but we don't see it. So they're really not taking advantage of the power of that M1 and the M2 and all that stuff. They're not really utilizing it in the iPad. Really no sense in getting I'd get a 2018 iPad Pro, to be honest with you, because I don't think there's anything that really takes advantage truly of that M1 chip or the M2 chip. How does Android apps run? Simple apps like YouTube or Reddit and such. You could run Android apps. I think you go to the Windows Store and just download them. They're fine. I'll talk more about it. Does anyone have any idea when the next Surface Laptop Studio is coming out? So that's the other thing. I don't know how well those sold, the Surface Laptop Studio. And I don't think we'll see it. If we're going to see it, probably going to see it in the springtime. That's my guess. That was another one that I really wanted to like. To be honest with you, and just to be totally honest, I liked the Surface Book the best out of all this stuff. That was my favorite personally. I have a personal affection towards it. Yeah, it got hot. It did all these crazy things in the beginning. It had the crazy hinge and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I absolutely loved the Surface Book in all its iterations. I just love that form factor. And the Surface Laptop Studio, I like. Again, the pull forward, I'm a big fan of it. Saw it with HP, did it with their folios, and I like what Microsoft did. So yeah, I like the Surface Laptop Studio. I like the platform design that it has. It's pretty good. Not just Final Cut Pro, even Chrome isn't desktop class on iPad. Now that's the problem, right? So, they just don't give you any reason to really have to buy it. Don't use my Surface Pro 4 much anymore. That was a good one, the Surface Pro 4. It's a little bit long in the tooth by now. So I'm going to be putting all this stuff through the paces, right? So we'll get all this done, and we're going to come to the conclusion. We're going to see at the end of the day, are these worthy of your money, or are you better off buying last year's version? Save yourself a few dollars. I think that's where I'm leaning towards. At the end of the day, that's where I'm leaning towards. But I'm glad everybody joined us today. It was a very nice, lively discussion. We're almost at an hour and 20 minutes. I think we're going to call it here, all right? I've got so much more to do. I do have coming tomorrow the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1, and the timing couldn't be any more perfect because now we can compare it to the Surface Pro. I wanted to call it the Surface Pro 4, Surface Pro 8 here. So stay tuned. We could maybe do a head-to-head. We could do some live streams on that. So that's the 2-in-1. We'll see how that folio combination, with their keyboard thing, how that's going to work. I have that coming in tomorrow. I have some good stuff, more stuff from Dell coming. I got some stuff from Lenovo. I got some from Alienware from Dell as well. So I've got a lot of good stuff on the way. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell notification. Make sure it's enabled so we can get it seen by as many people as possible. Let's cue the music. And I want to thank the moderators for doing such a great job. I hope I didn't go on a soapbox a little bit too much today, but I want to thank everybody for showing up and for a great live stream. I'm going to leave it up as a replay for those that didn't catch it. So if you want to help out the channel, you can always do a super thanks once this is a video on demand. Until next time, everybody, I'll see you, that's right, you, in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.